Hello, beautiful soul. I'm Vicki Howie of ChakraBoosters.com, the creator of Chakra Boosters Healing Tattoos and CirclingSpace.com. And this is your astrology energy forecast for March 2022. And so Tiffany Harlick's in the house. Woo! From Texas. Tiffany, how are you today?
I'm good. We're recording under this Juji full moon energy, and so I'm feeling all the feelings.
We're feeling the feels, you guys. It's like right
Mhm.
within 24 hours of the full moon, and we're kind of like of February right now, the Leo full moon. By the time you watch that will be past. So let me just introduce you, Tiffany. I think a lot of people on the channel know you by now, but I want you to know that you can reach Tiffany at wiseskiescollective.com, where she does amazing astrology, and there's other spiritual information there too, right, Tiff? Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Do you want to like just say real
yeah,
quick?
yeah, sure. So Wise Skies is a metaphysical counseling company, and we offer one-on-one services through astrology, tarot, Akashic records, human design, to really empower you to help you make a great decision. We all bump up against a lack of clarity sometimes, and so
Mhm.
that's what Wise Skies does. We also offer a little membership where we offer these members only workshops, right?
Okay.
So lots of fun things at Wise Skies.
Cool. And I didn't know you did human design, so I might be checking that out. It's like
Yeah,
way over my head.
yeah.
Okay. So Tiffany, you can check out all her information below. She's been doing these for us for a few months now, and everyone's loving it. And she hails from Texas. She's a beekeeper, just a true lover of Mother Nature, and she comes from a long lineage of people in her family who are psychic, a long Russian lineage. And Tiffany is a double Scorpio and a Sagittarius rising. So we've got Scorpio moon and Scorpio sun, right?
And
Yes.
Scorpio Mercury and Uranus
Oh,
Scorpio and lots of
she's
Scorpio.
she's going to take us deep. If you haven't noticed, she does every single time. So check out all of her links below. She also has Spellbound Publishing, and some of the books there are these great cookbooks that she does. So she just does so many things. Check her out. Okay, let's get into this March.
Yeah.
Okay, because I know we kind of wedged out in the major. If you guys haven't looked at the one for the full year, our forecast, check that out. The link is below. And I know that this February, March, April kind of became like it was like slow starting the year, and then it kind of started in February, and now this is like a little bit of our respite. But I know that February and April were stronger than March. So what do we have for March, Tiffany?
March, there is so much data that it's kind of challenging to read the weather. So
Hmm.
it's going to sound like a familiar story. There's going to be some highs and some lows. There's going to be a sense of completion, a sense of I'm ready to get over this part so that I can do the next thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so sometimes that brings us a sense of urgency, but what it provides us with is a sense of resiliency as well. Um, Here in Texas, y'all, like a couple of days ago, we were out beekeeping, and in one session, it was sleeting,
Mhm.
and it was so sunny that some people got sunburned. So there's these big drastic extremes in the weather.
Mhm.
Um, where I am, of course, not everybody will experience that, but that's what it feels like with the weather in March too. So what
Mhm.
we say in Texas is, if you don't like the weather, wait 5 minutes, it'll change. And
Okay.
I kind of feel like that about the March astrology too.
In
Uh,
general, everything. Like if don't hang on, don't think, oh no, if something happens, and don't celebrate for too long if something really good happens. Is that what
right,
you're saying? Just kind of like ride with it. Okay.
right. What goes up comes down, and what goes down comes up. One of the I guess, if we were going to pick out a bullet point of what to expect in March,
Mhm.
I've been writing about let's go, or is it let it go, right? So
So is that the theme? Like either let's go or let it go, and let's ride them both? Is that the
yeah,
theme?
yeah,
That's a long theme. Okay.
I
So
know.
it's let go or let it go, or just ride them
Let's
both.
go or
Yeah.
let it go,
Okay.
and trying to be smooth throughout our interactions. This is not necessarily a creative, dreamy, restful month. It's not.
Mm.
It's also not a go forward. This is the time to make it happen. It feels more like a month of integration, and that can go really well for us. If you're low key determined about something, this month will challenge you and test you. You know, you're going to come up against your edge sometimes, and you're going to see your spiritual fitness in your response.
Your spiritual fitness in your response. Another t-shirt moment. You're going to see your spiritual fitness in your response. Comment below, you guys. I love that one. Okay.
Right. And it's not a judgment. It's not
Yeah.
like I'm in a better place than that person. It's more like, oh, I'm having a reaction. Did I get enough sleep? Have I eaten? Are my hormone levels okay? Like, like all of the things, right?
It's a
So
check-in.
it's just a check-in.
Yeah.
It's just a barometer, right? So the river feels like it's moving fast, that intense, that adrenaline rush. It's not row, row, row your boat. It's like we're in the rapids and we're responding to life quickly. In the numerology, it's a 9-month and a 6-year. And so the 9, just like it is at the end of the deck of tarot, right? The 9 is the last number before we come back to our cycle with 1 in numerology. And so that 9 is that full moon feeling, that sense of, all right, we're done with this. And so let it go. Let's go. Right. That tying things up quickly. It doesn't feel like we're willing to be drug out or spreading things out. So this quick pivots. And I wanted to give you guys a heads up because December this year is also a 9-month. So in some ways, how we're handling March is a preview for some of the energy in December too. So what seeds are we planting? What do we want to synthesize? What do we want to leave behind? It's a intensity to that 9, and I like it, right? Like I'm a 9 life.
Well, you got all that Scorpio, so.
Another thing before we get into the nitty gritty of the days is that in April, I was telling you guys that Jupiter is going to conjunct Neptune. And that's when we were talking about the cultural shifts changing. Like when does it go from the 70s music to the 80s music?
Yeah.
And so if you're in the artist or fashion or music or anything like that, if you're one of the change makers, I just want you to feel free to experiment with a new style. This is your time. It's happening exactly on April 12th. We're going to feel it all through March, of course. It's happening in 23 degrees of Pisces, which governs both Jupiter and Neptune, and it feels good, but it's happening exactly on one of the fixed stars that is very, very challenging. So wherever 23 degrees Pisces is in your chart, I want, if you know that, then it can give you some more information, like what house is it in? Are there other things going on? Is your moon there? Is your sun there? So you can start to play with that. But I wanted to bring that to your awareness because I think we're going to feel it in March. Jupiter and Neptune, these are the big dreamers. And we're in a 9-month of completion where big things can happen. And so go for it, dream big, see what's out there for
March,
you.
you're saying is kind of like we're sort of prepping, collecting, like coming to that edge. Like if we were a filmmaker, we'd be shooting it and editing it and making it. It wouldn't be done, but we'd be working on it and feeling it. Okay.
Yeah, I like that example. That's a really good example. Just doing little shoots, little practice rounds, and we're going to take what works and leave the rest and be ready for April. So the cosmic teachers this month start out on March 2nd. We have a new moon in 12 degrees of Pisces. And to me, that's like, what mystery do you want to access, right? And so what has been subconscious? What has been unknown? What patterns have you been repeating and you can't quite figure it out, even though there's an awareness? That new moon in Pisces is the end of the zodiac. It feels very spiritual. It feels like a good cry. It feels like a cleansing opportunity. I got to spend a new moon in Pisces in India on the banks of the Ganges. And we did this beautiful fire puja. And so to me, that new moon in Pisces is like, that's where I go when I think about that. It's a great time to start a meditation practice or get back into like one of your circling events, right? Like there's all of these opportunities to connect with your spirituality and your tenderheartedness. It's also a good time to remember who's been generous with you because that Jupiter conjunct Neptune, that's going to be like as you're thankful, so shall you be. And so remembering with gratitude on that new moon is a really potent time to bring more of that goodness into your life. If you're wanting a new job and your job kind of sucks right now, what is it that you can like about your job, right? If you're wanting a new home and you're kind of in that like not this phase, what is it that you do like, right? And bringing light to that. The new moon is a period of darkness. And so it's also a period of like going inside, going inwards and reflecting. And then all your water rituals are really fun when it's a Pisces. So a water bath, putting crystals up around your bath, doing charging your water glass with positive words, affirmation, looking at the work of Emoto, these type of things.
Wearing my tattoos because we're water.
Yes.
Making, what do you call water? Moon tea, like making a moon tea.
Perfect. Yes. So Mars and Venus are going to, as they're going to be really close to Jupiter, they're going to trine the North Node, and they're going to move into Aquarius by March 6th. So Mars and Venus working very closely together in the skies right now. Aquarius is that futuristic thinking. And so when you have that divine masculine, divine feminine, that right balance of go and receive, of pierce and soften, of active and rest, when you have that kind of working together in Aquarius, that futuristic thinking, what I'm feeling like, it's very much an awareness experiment, right? It's very much like, what am I aware of? And that is one of the most enlightening things that we can do, is to just stop, observe, be aware. Mars and Venus in Aquarius is also about groups, of course, wishful thinking, working with different people. So for me, I know by that time of once we get there, I will personally be working with a group of different people during that time. So there's a lot of trust elements in that. It doesn't mean work with different people and it's all going to work out fine. It means you're getting out of your comfort zone a little bit, right? So if you're normally the yang A personality, can you try to settle in and receive a little bit? If you're the one that's waiting to respond until you're completely flat, maybe you step up a little bit.
And you know who you are if you're doing that. So come on, step up. We want to see you.
Yeah, we do. And
we want to hear you. We need to hear you.
And the planets are supporting that, right?
Yep.
At that time.
Cool.
Now, this is going to be a very Mercury-centric month. So Mercury ruling the way that we think, the way that we process information and understand things. And so if you look at this as an awareness experiment, if you look at this as a lesson, we're in Earth school type of a thing, I think everything becomes no fault and everything becomes a fun adventure and a fun experiment that we can change at any time. Right behind that, on March 10th, Mercury will enter Pisces, where we will have just had that new moon. To me, that's a lot of visionary concepts, and that's something that you do want to tap into with what's coming in April, right? That visionary concept. So you might be wise to take on a dream journal that night. Mercury entering Pisces, it'll be there for a month or so, right? You have plenty of time. So it's not like that day and that day only, but that's when the weather shifts. And that's when
I'm just laughing because you keep saying about these visions and Aquarius and all that, and circling space is totally Aquarian because we come to get along and we really allow our differences, and we're on digital media, but we feel so intimate. And I'm redoing, not me, I started to say, that's not true at all. We as a group, the facilitators, are redoing the website from now until about April or through March. So everything Perfect. You're saying is like, I'm going, yay, perfect.
Right. That's perfect timing. I mean, you couldn't have timed it better. That's exactly, and you're reaching, like you said, that global audience. You're reaching so many people, touching hearts, being emotional, having a container for that, understanding, processing. It's beautiful work. Right behind.
When you say global audience, I just wanted to tell you, yeah, we are. I mean, 6 of us facilitators are from five different countries.
Amazing. Right. The world is our home online.
Yeah, it is.
So it's still the same vibe all the way through the 13th. So for the first 2 weeks, all that Piscean, Aquarian energy, the sun will conjunct Neptune. That means the sun will go right by Neptune in Pisces. And so we're making a little bit more room in our hearts. We're making space to understand things. There's a softness and a willingness. and you're just in the ride. So it's, to me, it's like when you were talking about, human design, for me, when I got my foundational session, it felt like a trip. Like I felt like I was in a music, like like a festival, walking around, understanding, experiencing life with new sounds and colors. And it just all became this beautiful opportunity where we can work with our own mechanics, our own aura mechanics differently. And that's what I think about with the sun conjunct Neptune. It's like, oh, I've been conditioned to be somebody that I'm not. And how can I just love myself, right?
And let more come out that's new or different. Yeah. Or
Mm-hmm.
even more visionary, like you said, or more hearted, more soft, more tender, more Piscean, visionary.
Yes, and more inner child work, right? It's never over.
Yeah.
Some people get so mad in sessions. They're like, I've been working on that for 20 years or whatever. Well, I guess we're not done yet. No problem. But
Well,
the
and
way I
what's
look
so
at
bad
it,
about visiting your inner child? Like, that's a really nice visit.
that's how I feel. I mean, I at least once a year on my birthday will go through every age of myself and meditate with that age of myself. Isn't that cool? And
So cool because I do the chakra life cycles, and I have on this channel one meditation for the first 7 years. So you go to the foundation of each chakra. So I have the 1-year-old inner child, the 2-year-old, the 3-year-old, but I call it the root, the sacral, the solar. So I literally guide people through those first 7 years of what you're talking about. So you and I are on the
we're on the
right
same
on the
fractal.
same page, girl.
Right, so that's a beautiful time to re-love yourself through those types of practices, right? So still very beautiful. Now March 17th, Mercury sextiles Uranus, if you'd like to say it that way. And it's about really the road less traveled. It's about getting out of your comfort zone. And so this can be an emotional experience, but it can be really exciting, forward thinking, good news. It's one of my favorite days of the month because right after that, Venus is going to sextile Chiron, the sun is going to sextile Pluto, and then we get our full moon in Virgo. So there's a lot of change, a lot of energies shifting. The full moon in Virgo, I absolutely love because I love cleaning house. I love cleaning my heart. I love cleaning. I love the freshness that comes with that full moon cry or that full moon
The
junk
full cry.
drawer organization. You know what I
I do
mean?
too. I do too. I do too. And I just love the mutability because sometimes people think because Virgo's so organized and cleans things and orders them that it's not flexible, but it's a mutable sign. And so Pisces is too. And I just think that energy feels really good for, like you said, for good change. For I don't know. There's an energy there that I really enjoy.
Me too. And I feel like it's kind of that reinvent yourself magic, you
Mm.
know? Um, and so the full moon in Virgo is one of my favorite full moons of the year. And so I just want everybody to be aware that there's extra positive, good things going on in the sky during, it's not a full moon to be scared of or avoid at any cost, right?
Mhm.
So opening to love, celebrating how far you've come, that sense of completion around Virgo things, the details of life, your routine, right? Like what can you celebrate with how far you've come? We've all come a long way. It's been a
I
journey.
love that, Tiff. I love that you're saying that because I think that's the one thing we forget so much, especially in the spiritual community. So I use every full moon, it's a celebration of what has been achieved. It's not just a release. First, celebrate where you are. Do you feel that Virgo has that health aspect as well too?
Oh,
I know
yes,
a
thank
lot
you
of
for
people are
bringing that
working
up.
with health right now, and it feels like that could really be good for us collectively, health wise, at that time.
Yes, thank you for bringing that up. Virgo is absolutely where you want to look in your chart if you are experiencing health concerns. Also, the sixth house where you might be experiencing health, new routines, new rituals, things like this, ideas for what could be useful for you in your human design. You want to look at your digestion, right? This is incredibly important because if you don't digest your food or your world or your emotions, you lack proper cognition to understand everything that's going on, and so you just kind of stay here. So Virgo stuff, sixth house stuff, understanding your digestion and cognition. My digestion is hot thirst. What is that? You know,
Well, you can
like,
dive into that one for a while as I drink some water.
right? And I mean, it's amazing once you understand what works with your mechanics. I'm
Okay.
not a soup person, right?
They might
But
be contacting you about that. I'd like to find mine out.
yeah, no, I mean, it is, those are the things that you could do with a Virgo full moon, like access your health through a different
Mm,
path.
okay.
Right. So fun things, I guess, to me, it's fun to look at. I have a master's in health psychology, so I really like looking at how the body and mind align, and how they kind of don't work with each other in favor sometimes. So the body, your body, you guys, your body will have the answer inside of it, and the mind's job is to talk you out of that, right? And so this is a time when you can maybe let the mind off the hook, right? Shh, little mind, thank you so much for that sweet thought. I'm going with my body right now, with my guts. And so
Mhm.
we all have that body wisdom. We experience it differently, right? Some of us experience it emotionally. Some of us experience it as a yes or a no. Some of us experience it as a heaviness or a lightness. Some of us experience it as a whoosh, right? Uh,
Yeah,
and
there's something to listen to there. And I also know that for me, a lot of times it's spirit versus body. And I love how Pisces is here too, because it feels like it's bringing it together better. Because spirit versus body is spirit wants change, body wants homeostasis. So even just in that most basic thing, they can get in a tizzy with each other, you know. So when I imagine them getting along better, or this full moon feels like a sweet like time where they can
mhm.
get along better, then it's more like feels like the spirit can trust the body to lead, and therefore then the body trusts the spirit. Okay, we can change a little. All right, you know, we could tweak this. We could come at it like you said from an alternative angle. So I like,
Right?
yeah.
And baby steps. Virgo is small. It's not Jupiter, it's small. It's like baby steps, right? So just one little thing in your routine that can change everything, right? Your hot thirst changed everything.
Choose
Everything.
one full one. I have it on both sides. Choose one full moon baby step.
Yeah.
Maybe health baby step, or another or an organizational baby step, or yeah. I like
Yeah, right. And knowing that we're in a 9 month, things are integrating, we're synthesizing, so giving ourselves plenty of space. But I started out this forecast saying like it's lots in topsy turvy. There's lots of data points, and I've been pretty nice up until now, right?
all right. Wait, did you give us, okay, you're gonna wait to give us the best and worst
I'm
days?
gonna wait, but
Okay.
I've been pretty nice up until this full moon.
You've been nice. Okay, where are you going? Where are you going?
So what's happening next is that Venus will square Uranus. And you just said we have to remain flexible, and that is why Venus, of course, you guys know, rules our love, our ability to be compassionate, what we think is sexy and beautiful, our vision. And when our vision is in money, yes, our worth and our self-worth. So reminding all of us that our net worth is not our self-worth,
Yes.
reminding our inner child that we're not going to get in over our head. We're going to trust ourselves to make good financial decisions.
Wait a minute, that was another t-shirt. My net worth is not my self-worth. Selling your t-shirts eventually.
Right? I need to get on this. You're marketing them. But yeah, that's crucial, that you trust yourself, your inner child trusts yourself not to make financial decisions that are so disruptive, that it creates anxiety and fear and concern. Venus square Uranus, that could be like you're taking out a big loan and it's scary for the first time. It could be like you took out a big loan and oops, there was an unexpected expense, and it's like, oh my God, overwhelming, right?
Is that you're saying, like, if you're giving advice on this at this time with Venus squaring Uranus, would you say don't do a loan at that time, or do you know what I mean? Like, is there any advice?
Yeah, I would not.
Okay,
Um,
that's what I felt too. And I was like, so you said maybe you're taking a loan. And I'm like, no, just don't at that time.
well, right.
It could
Well,
really
like
be anything.
I'm
Don't do
taking,
anything you're not willing to have the surprise. Don't do anything financial that feels like a surprise would be too scary. Like
yes,
at that point, I would say.
that's a much better way of saying it than whatever I was saying.
No, you were
Because that's
saying it great, but it just sounded like maybe you were almost suggesting it. I know you were using it as an example, but I wanted to make sure because I have a feeling you were where I was, which is, nah, I probably wouldn't at
this
that.
is a more conservative year financially with the Pluto returns, right? Like for at least the US, sorry, I know we're global, but I feel like generally this is a more conservative year.
Okay.
That said, I'm taking out a construction loan. Like it's not like no activity.
Right. That's for home. That's for your building something. Yeah, of course. Sure.
and and that Venus Uranus square is Uranus is unpredictable. So
Very.
uh, that can be like somebody has an emotional outburst and it's simple. It can be as
Is
big as
there any bias though toward the good or the bad in that? Because Venus is relationships really. So what kind of surprises might we be seeing relationally?
I think that's how the mind that's the spiritual fitness. It's how the mind will interpret that. It's like that story. Is it good or bad? Who knows, right? Is it good news, bad news? Who
You don't
knows?
know until ever sometimes, like the whole, okay.
What I can tell you is this is not do the same thing, don't change at all. It's very whoosh, change quickly energy. And so being flexible is going to be helpful. Venus square Uranus, that can be breakup material.
Mhm.
Is a breakup good or bad? Ask some.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, okay, I see. So be flexible and how long is that energy affecting?
You're like, tell me everything.
Well, because I mean, it's hard to be flexible every single day. Sometimes you're like, I'm tired of stretching my muscles so far.
And that's when you might have a case of the screw-its, right? Like that's when,
Screw it.
right? So I feel like that energy is very abrupt. It's happening around the 19th. And depending on when you feel those squares, like sometimes I feel them early coming on because I'm sensitive to it.
Me too.
So I would say around the 19th, but give yourself a little grace on either side.
Okay.
Um, the Venus is usually a day or two. It's not like a forever. It's not like a
Yeah, because it's a close planet, so yeah.
yeah. It's not gonna the aspect's gonna happen and it's gonna move through. The shock won't last forever.
Yeah.
The next day on the 20th, the sun is going to enter Aries, and this is when we can step up, rise up, fall down 7 times, get up 8. We're going to be okay, right? The sun in Aries. So happy birthday to all the Pisces and all the Aries in March. We see you and we love you, and we need your initiating power. We need you to start things and not finish them. We need you to be the first. We need you to
Well,
be the
that's for the
pioneers.
Aries, so it's so interesting because you just said it to the final sign, the 12th. We need your wisdom. We need your just kind of like overlooking vision and blah blah. And then, hello Aries, yes, we need you starting things. Maybe not finishing, maybe going off to something else, but someone else will start it or
Yeah,
finish it.
right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I loved it. You just welcome both birthdays. This is that month where we have a birthday that's the 12th sign and a birthday that's the first sign.
Yeah. And we also have the equinox, we also have that spring energy that happens when the sun enters Aries. And so that can be a wheel, like a turning of the wheel, that new energy that we all like to feel in spring. To me, I always get very impatient with the March energies. Like, are we growing or are we freezing? Is it sunny or is it sweater or like a tank top?
I get it. I get it. I gotcha.
So stepping up, if you're not in Aries, if you don't have any planets in Aries, you're still under an Aries sun. And so for you, this might be a phase when you are experimenting and you start a few things and they don't all feel good. So you realize I only want to pick that one. So you can let yourself off the hook too, if you're wanting to experiment with a few new projects, new things.
Okay. Cool.
Next, go ahead. Did you have a question?
No, that's cool. I'm good. Next.
Okay. We have about 6 more interesting bullet points in the month of March. Mercury is going to conjunct Jupiter on the 21st. And at the same time, Mars will sextile Chiron. That's when we can overcome the odds. That's when we can spread the word. That's when legal battles are won. That's when we stop fighting, and that's like the key. Mercury conjunct Jupiter is good news. So that's available for all of us. So that's a reminder to all of us that life is happening for us, not to us. I had a client this morning that was expecting big news with her career. Her Jupiter was coming into her 10th house for a new 12-year cycle. And I was like, oh yeah, she's totally going to get it. But if you don't get it, don't worry, because this is like a saving grace. Is something new.
Exactly.
12-year cycles coming.
Protection is protection. When you have Jupiter around, it's like saying this is the good guy, the fairy godfather. So if something doesn't turn out, it wasn't meant to turn out. It is for you. Yeah.
That's right. That's right. So good news around that day. And then again, that this is where the astrology is so much like we're in a sailboat on this windy sea and we're getting tossed around and we can't. Is it good news? I don't know, because it feels very chaotic, because the very next day Mars squares Uranus. Mars square Uranus, that could come on early. That could come 5 days early. Mars
It's
is
always early.
it's
Yeah.
always early. And
Mars is
squaring Uranus,
impatient.
very, right? And now we've got the sun there. It feels a lot more fiery. We've got another Uranus square. So Venus is squared Uranus. Now Mars is going to square Uranus because they're traveling together. And that feels very volatile. And it feels very electrical. It feels very fiery. It feels very accident prone. And it's not just that one day, right? So we have to know that as Venus starts her square to Uranus, you could be like, well, on the 19th, Tiffany said that. But really, there's a lot going on that could be affecting the 19th. And so I just feel like, even though there's good news on March 21st, you might not feel like it is,
You can
right?
get lost in the storm. Exactly.
Yeah.
All the other weather. I got it.
Yeah. So lots of batting around. I just see the sailboat with the sheets like,
Okay.
and you're not sure which way to go yet.
Because you said that I could hear it. I was like getting the sound of it whipping, you know. Yeah.
Right. It feel and like you, it's like emotional whiplash is what it feels like. So right after that, the rest of the month feels okay. So if we can get through that rough period of after the full moon on the 18th, so the 18th, the full moon through about the 22nd, I feel like is going to be the most intense time. So let's ride that wave, guys. And then behind that, Mercury will conjunct Neptune. That's the 23rd. The 26th, Mercury will conjunct, or excuse me, sextile Pluto. And then Mercury will enter Aries on the 27th. And so I feel like it's just like lucid dreaming in a way. It feels like, is this really happening to me? It feels like, is this my life right now? And that can be good too, you know? That can be dreams come true. Mercury right next to Neptune. This is being awake in the dream. This is dreaming your future. This is shamanic work, right? This is,
Like, and maybe, and in what I was getting was insight energy as well. Like
mm-hmm,
from those dreams, like a different angle, insight energy. Yeah.
mm-hmm. Yeah, understanding your own aura mechanics is incredibly insightful. And that takes both uh, an understanding and a sensation and a feeling, right?
Mhm.
Uh, so we're looking for the truth here. Now, at the very end of the month, we get one of those, the wind changes directions again. Venus is going to conjunct Saturn. Um, this is this can be when we need to pinch our pennies, right?
Mhm.
This can be a feeling of restriction or limitation within our money and our love, our relationships. This can look like a lot of different things in our lives. It could be that you're in a partnership and one person has to accept a job somewhere else, and now you guys have very limited time together. It could be that your budget looked like this and now it looks like this. It could be that you're building a house and you thought you had this much for foundation and you have this much for foundation. You know, whatever it is,
Yeah.
it's just a limitation
Mhm.
um,
Box coming in.
and a container. And limitations are actually brilliant. If you know you only have red and blue to paint with, you can still make a beautiful painting,
Mhm.
right? But it's working within your limitations, and that's how we finish the month. So if you're in a physical state that has you somewhat limited, you can still do many things, right? If there's, it's working within your limitations is the best way to put it. I think some relationships will conclude because Saturn, the Lord of Karma, you'll feel complete. We're in a 9 month. We've gone through a full moon. There's been some emotional upheaval. I do think that there will be some completion and feeling like a completion,
Okay.
and that's okay. You can finish in a relationship and start in that same relationship. You don't all have to break up with
Finish
everybody.
a cycle. Good point.
Yeah,
Really, I'm so
right.
glad it doesn't have to be a breakup. You could definitely finish a cycle. Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So that brings us through kind of this equinox, tumultuous, tempest like style reading. I do have my cards. I know we want to go
Let's pull a
through
card for the first and
those.
second half of the month. Shuffle away there.
All right. Let's clear
Yeah.
the deck. So just
Oh,
clearing
but
for.
first, you didn't give us the best and worst.
Okay. So the
I
best
want
and
to
the
be, because
worst.
I don't want to have to guess it. I want to have it clearly stated. I have some ideas from what you've shared, but I'd like you to state yours.
They're so close together. I'm gonna say circle the 19th as the worst. I'm just nervous about that. Um,
Okay.
all right, so the 19th, I hate saying worst because good
Yeah,
news,
the
bad news.
19th is the one to be most vigilant of the energies.
Yes. Yeah.
But it's just
Uh,
easy. When I do it, I call it best and worst, you guys, because it's just, it's easy. It's a 5-letter word, right?
yes. And for the best, I'm going to say March 6th because that's the one when Mars and Venus enter Aquarius were working together. A secondary best would be, when was that Jupiter one? A Mercury conjunct Jupiter. Mercury conjunct Jupiter is in the middle of the storm. So you might have some
Yeah, you
best
may or may
moments
get
on the
to.
21st. But if you want a best day where you feel like breathing room on both sides, I'm going to say March 6th, guys.
Great. Great. Yeah, I can feel that. That feels good.
Okay, good. Thank you for
Oh, I
confirming.
can totally feel what you're talking about. When it gets all mixed up, I tend to pull in all the energies. So when they're all mixed up, I don't get to really enjoy it. Because let's say like vanilla is my favorite ice cream, but somebody just put a bunch of scoops of a whole bunch of other like ice cream with nuts, which I don't like, and now I have to, it's not as good anymore. Now I have to find my vanilla in there somewhere. So I'd rather just have one scoop of the vanilla earlier on in the month, where there isn't everything else.
That is brilliant. That is a brilliant way to put it. Exactly. All right. So for the
Ice
first
cream
half of the
analogies are always good in Florida.
right, it's good for the inner children too, the inner
Yes,
child.
so first half of the month, what do your cards share with us?
All right. First, we get a 9 of Pentacles. So much like the energy of
The 9, there's that 9 for the
the
money.
9, and it's also that celebration of the luxurious side of life, where things feel like rich and good and abundant, and you get your wish. That things are you're kind of, what's the quote about like standing on the shoulders of giants? You're standing in your lineage.
Mhm.
Everybody that came before you made it possible for you to enjoy the finer things in life. That where we have this
For each other. I just love that. That is a beautiful card. Wow.
Isn't that pretty? Yeah, 9 of Pentacles.
What a hat's going on there, man. What earrings? What a hat. This is so
Right.
stare at it for a while.
And that's what that card embodies, is that
Yeah.
this is enjoying the finer things, the richer flavors, the deeper textures. And so that does go along very well with when I told you, right? Like, I've been pretty nice up until now. Like,
Right. Good. So this is for the first half. Exactly. And you have a bird in the hand.
that's right.
And that's always good to have a bird in the hand. They say it's better than 2 in the bush. So you've got it
That's
right
right.
in your hand.
That's right. That is a very excellent observation. And so if we look at the second half, what is it that we all need to hear as affirmation, clarity, and just a sense of security?
Thank you, Tiffany, for doing these readings and all of it. I have so much fun with you. I just
Yes.
so much.
Me too. Ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. Okay.
All right. All right. So we get the 7 of Swords here. And so the 7 of Swords is really one of my least favorite cards in the deck.
And you said this about the second half of the month. So hello, least favorite. We're like, and it's interesting. Like she's grabbing the egg against her chest, and
Yes.
are there other eggs down there, down below, right?
There are. And in the traditional deck, it's like the 7 of Swords is a thief. He's looking back, he's stealing the swords, he's knowing he's not supposed to be doing something. This can be like very much when we guard our hearts and then act out of our old fears or our old coping mechanisms that we don't really need anymore. It can be a time when you want to change your passwords, when you want to review your game cameras, stuff like this, like actual
more security. So, okay. And I know when you say you're not with this card so much, you want to draw another one just to give it another.
I do, because I'm not going to leave this hanging with that.
So
okay, good. All right. So the 10 of Cups. So we're flanked by the worst of times and the best of times.
Oh, look at that. So interesting. Bringing it up just a little closer. There's almost like a halo rainbow kind of thing there too.
Yes. Yeah. It's
the masculine and feminine. They're hanging out a lot in March.
Right.
In March.
Good point. The 10 of Cups is the most love available. It is a completion. It is
I know. In my deck, it's gorgeous. I just love it.
and it feels like to me very good, but it does feel like very much on point with that Venus conjunct Saturn, where we are maturing our relationships, we're committing to something stronger and longer, we're breaking old patterns, we're ending cycles so that we can have a new commitment to realign with ourselves so that we can meet together at a higher frequency, right? So very back and forth energy the second half of the month, first half of the month feeling good,
Yeah.
knowing that all of this is just a calibration of our spiritual fitness, like we were talking about.
You know, I realized we actually need three cards because that's the way you read it. When you did the reading, you were like, we have this really good first half, then it gets really wonky, but then right at the end again, we've got some ease, you know? And you were even talking about relationships and about how you could even start over anew. And I think it's interesting because they look like they're looking out into the horizon for something new, the cards showing them from behind. So, yeah, so beware of
The Ides of March, right?
well, well, the covetous part almost, or the part that might try to do things the old way or take a shortcut, or I don't know, kind of
Mhm.
that. And 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 we're just going to call that same period where you were making like your worst day, and where we said it could be 4 days or all of that. That might be kind of the Seven of Swords time.
I think so.
Okay, we did it. We did it.
Yes, thank you so much for having me on. I hope everybody has a beautiful, rich experience of your March. Just remembering it's just the weather and it affects us all differently because we have different birth charts and we have different life experiences. So if you need an anchor, right, always just look at the new moon and the full moon. If the rest of this was too much or overwhelming, just look
Mhm.
at that new moon and that full moon, and you'll
Yeah.
be fine.
I totally agree. I just love the lunation. I love looking at the moons and stuff. And you guys can always go to Tiffany for a reading. I leave all of her information down below. Thank you for joining us. And you're going to really want to join us for April too, because if you haven't checked out the yearly, look at our yearly forecast for 2022 down below, but you'll find that April was like the really awesome month to check out. So we'll have a really good March and we will see you in April. Bye for now. Much love.